Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. Sony recently released a high-powered flagship, the Xperia 1 Mark II, but it's not only the high-end phones that are reaching the next level. The Xperia 10 Mark II is a new mid-ranger with a slim Sony form factor and a triple camera setup. Let's see what it has to offer in our full review. Just like the flagship Xperia 1 Mark II, the Xperia 10 comes with some Roman numerals after its name. There's no mistaking it for anything other than a Sony device, with its distinctive tall, narrow, and angular look, with bezels aplenty. It's kind of a retro-looking design these days, but still elegant. The device feels quite compact and light, perhaps because of its narrow form factor. This makes it quite suitable for one-handed use. The back is made of Gorilla Glass 6, and although the frame is made of plastic, not aluminum, the build is still quite premium. It offers full IP68 water and dust resistance, which is a unique feature in this price range. While the previous Xperia 10 had an LCD, the Mark II has an OLED display. It's 6 inches, with a 1080p resolution and a cinematic 21:9 aspect ratio. We do enjoy having more vertical real estate for things like scrolling, and the OLED panel offers deep blacks and good sharpness. Colors can be tuned to be decently accurate if you play around with them in settings. But we did notice quite a bit of blue color shift when using the phone. Refresh rate is just the standard 60 Hz. This isn't the brightest screen around, but it's still perfectly usable. We measured a max of about 380 nits with a slider, and it can boost up to 520 nits in auto mode, which is quite okay for an OLED. For audio, the Xperia 10 has a single front-facing loudspeaker located below the display. It's strange for it to be in this position without a matching second speaker at the top. Quality isn't too impressive here, just average, with average loudness as well. You don't get a fancy Dolby Atmos equalizer to help things out either. However, you do get a conventional headphone jack on the Xperia 10 Mark II, so plugging in traditional headphones is straightforward. Some regional models have FM radio, but that wasn't the case here. You also get expandable storage, so you don't have to worry about running out of space for your media, but with 128 gigs on board, it wouldn't run out very soon anyway. For unlocking the phone, there is a side-mounted fingerprint reader integrated with the power button. It's not the most responsive one out there. For me, if I didn't get the angle of my thumb just right, I could end up with a missed read. And that was after registering my thumb twice. The Xperia 10's interface is Sony's Xperia UI, based on Android 10. It's really close to stock Android, and great if you're looking for a clean, bloat-free experience. Nearly all of the features are provided by Google, except for a few proprietary Sony apps, like the Music app. There's also SideSense, a touch-sensitive area on the edge of the display that can be used to store apps and shortcuts. Other than that, there are just a few light Xperia options sprinkled here and there, like the battery care screen. We noticed that there is no game enhancer here, unlike the one you'd find on the Xperia 1 Mark II. Speaking of gaming, raw performance is not really the strong suit of the Xperia 10 Mark II. It's running on a Snapdragon 665 chipset, which is starting to look a bit outdated these days. It still runs quite okay, but benchmark scores fall behind phones with a 7 series chipset. This might be a concern if you're into heavy gaming, but otherwise, the Xperia 10 Mark II still does a great job in normal day-to-day tasks. Powering the phone is a 3600 mAh battery, which is a bit smaller than what we see in most phones these days. Regardless, the Xperia does a good job, scoring an endurance rating of 92 hours in our battery life tests. The phone supports 18-watt power delivery charging, and although we didn't get the bundled charger that comes with a retail box, with a compatible one, we were able to charge the Xperia from 0 to 60% in half an hour, and up to a full charge in 1.5 hours. Now onto the cameras. The Xperia 10 packs a versatile triple camera setup, which includes a 12-megapixel main cam, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide-angle cam, and an 8-megapixel telephoto with 2x zoom. In daylight, the shots with the main cam are okay, with some nice colors and contrast when there's plenty of light. But even then, noise can be an issue, and photos in general take a while to process when shooting. Dynamic range, too, is not the best. HDR helps with that, but you have to force it manually from manual mode, as we never saw it engage on its own. Our impressions from the ultra-wide shots are mixed again. They come out at 12 megapixels, despite the 8-megapixel sensor, so there's some upscaling involved. But even then, they come out quite nice if the light is enough. It completely falls apart in challenging conditions, however. Colors get desaturated, the contrast gets bad, and photos get really soft. Since there is no autofocus on the ultrawide, if you take close-up shots, they will be with the main camera. It can focus at a fairly short distance if you switch to the dedicated macro mode. 2x zoom shots from the 8-megapixel telephoto cam again come out in 12 megapixels, so there is some upscaling, but quality is decent. The phone's behavior, however, is pretty inconsistent when it comes to zooming. Sometimes it switches to a digital crop of the main camera for no apparent reason. These photos have wildly different exposure and processing from the optical zoom. The Xperia 10's portrait mode is done with the telephoto cam, but we suspect that it also takes some info from the main cam too. The effect is quite convincing, though each shot takes quite a while to process. Low light photo quality on the Xperia 10 Mark II is adequate, but not great. The main cam has a nice level of detail. However, we generally weren't impressed with the output from any of the three cameras, as they all suffered from poor dynamic range. There is a dedicated night mode available for all three shooters. Exposure is brighter, highlights get restored, there is less noise, and even shadows are lifted a bit. However, night mode shots take quite a while to capture on top of the already long shot-to-shot times. Not to mention, the zoom shots here are always a crop from the main camera. The ultrawide cam seems to benefit the most from night mode. Videos can be captured with the main cam in up to 4K resolution at 30 FPS. These clips are really good, with plenty of detail, great sharpness and natural colors, but dynamic range is a bit narrow. If you zoom in 4K resolution, the result will be a crop from the main camera. At 2x zoom, this actually holds up surprisingly well. You can only record through the ultrawide cam in 1080p resolution, and while the results aren't what you'd call impressive, they are alright. As far as stabilization goes, the Xperia 10 Mark II lacks OIS on any of its cameras, but there is EIS across the board. It does a decent job of smoothing things out, though we've seen better. So that's the Xperia 10 Mark II. You get a slim glass build with water resistance, a sharp OLED display, good battery life with fast charging, a versatile set of cameras, and a clean user interface, all for around €350. However, there are some things I wasn't happy with here. You get a cinematic 21:9 screen, but only a mediocre single speaker for your audio. The chipset is bordering on outdated, and the camera experience is pretty inconsistent and frustrating. For those reasons, I think that unless water and dust resistance are a must-have, there are much better options available out there. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and see you on the next one.